Hello everybody, this is Evan with Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today I am bringing you a review of School of Sorcery by Dr. Finn Games. So this is a two-player game. It takes approximately 30 to 40 minutes to play. I'm going to take it down to the tabletop here, show you an example of a run-through of a round of the game, and then bring it back up for my final thoughts. Alright, so down here onto the table is a basic setup of School of Sorcery. So normally these are just in a row, but for recording purposes I just have it in two neat rows. So you can see that these are located here, and they have die faces for each location there. And they correspond to die here. So how the game is set up is you're going to pull out from the deck, is right here. There are three different color cards in there. You can see them out here. You've got orange cards, you've got green cards, you have red cards. So you're going to pull out all the red cards. You're going to shuffle the red cards, and each player is going to get two of them. So these are the starting cards that each player has. You can see I have them set up for each player. You're going to take the remaining cards, shuffle them all together, and then you're going to deal them out onto these locations. Up to 5. This here is the portal card that always goes and starts on number 6. So once you got them all shuffled up and laid out into the locations, you're going to flip over the red cards that you have, and these are your starting items that you have. Once you have your starting items, you're going to take a look at the cards. And I'm going to talk about the cards here at this moment. So the idea for the game is you need to get 13 victory points in order to win. And onto the cards, we'll pull one here. You're going to see a couple different things. We'll start here at the bottom. This is the text of what this card will do. And we'll get a little more into what each card does, because the different color cards will vary exactly how it interacts with the game. So in the upper right-hand corner of all the cards is how many victory points they're worth. In the upper left-hand corner is how many of the crystal shards you need in order to claim them. And you can see I got the crystal shards here. And that's the big number on top. The lower number is how many more shards you need than the other person. So in order normally to win the crystal ball, you need 5 shards and at least 3 more shards than the other person in order to claim it. So if I have 5 shards and my opponent has 3 shards on it, I couldn't win this because I need 3, I only have 2 more. So that's something to keep in mind. Now as you can see, all these cards here, they all have the same layout here. So let's talk about the different cards and what they do. So the red cards themselves are a permanent ability for you. You can use those during your turn. And if you look here on this little player aid card where it keeps your score, there's 5 different phases in the game. Number 4, activate powers, is when you would activate that. We're going to go through each of these phases here in turn, so you can see more of how it interacts. So the next color card that we're going to talk about is we're going to talk about the green ones. The green ones are called immediate. So when you claim the card, here I grab one here at random. So when you grab this card, again, worth 3 victory points when you claim it, which we'll go over claiming cards here in a little bit. You need 5 shards in order to claim it. 2 more than the next person. Flavor text right here of what it actually does. So when you claim this, the next thing is add 1 crystal to any location. That happens immediately. We'll go over like the crystals on the locations and what they do here in a little bit. The last color card is the one-time use. So the one-time use are these color here, and likewise, worth 3 victory points. You need 4 shards to claim, 3 more than any other person. In the ability here, on this one, turn one of your dice to any result. Now the one-time use cards you can use at any point during any phase that you want it. The moment you use it though, You can't use it again for the rest of the game. You'll still keep the victory points and everything for it, but she done. So let's talk about the flow of the game here. So, once you deal out the red cards for each player, you take a look at the victory points and you assign the victory points to your characters. And then you're going to take the wizard meeple, and the wizard meeple is going to go to the person who is actually oldest. So in this situation, I'm going to say that I'm the older person. So we just follow along with what it says here. So the very first thing you do is take 5 crystals, which I already delved out to each player. Next thing you do is you're going to cast crystals. So what that means is you're going to you get 3 die, take them, and you roll them. Like that. Now, you start the game with 3 of these tokens. What these are rerolls. So anytime you have to roll a die in the game, you can use one of these tokens to reroll dice. You just take it and spend it, and you can reroll as many die as you want. So we're just going to keep this as it is. What's nice is you take the wizard meeple and move it along with the phases so you can keep track of which phase you're on. So we're on to the cast crystals. So we rolled the die. I have 2 6s and a 4. So we're going to do that. You have 6 of these cards here. So what these cards are is what you're going to do on your turn. So I'm going to show them to you here. Okay. So as you can see, they correspond to putting the crystals down. This symbol means flipping a die to its opposite number, which, if you need help, right down here at the very bottom, gives you a quick reminder of the opposite sides of die, if needed. So, you have 5 crystals to place in your very first turn, and then each turn after that, you're always going to get 5 more, so you don't have to place all your crystals if you don't want to. You can save them for future turns. So that's a way that you can get more than 5. But we're going to try and place as many as we can. Now these turns are simultaneous. The only one that isn't simultaneously activate powers, but we'll go into that here in a little bit. So what I need to do is I have a 6, 6, and a 4. That means I can place my crystals on the 6th location, the 6th location, and the 4 location. So those are the cards that I'm going to be trying to win with my crystals here. So you're wondering, well, hey, Evan, there's nothing here. What does this do? We'll cover that here in a moment. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take a look at the cards and see how I'm going to put these out. So let's say I'm going to put 3 on my 6 there. Then keeping the math, if I do that, that leaves me with 2 crystals left. So I can put nothing for this other 6. And I put 2 on that 4. And likewise, my opponent's going to do the same thing. So my opponent is going to have 2 5s and a 6. We'll put their die over here. And we'll just assign them random cards, and we'll see how they place them. Okay, so as soon as you figure out what you're going to do, which actually, normally you would put these upside down, and we reveal them simultaneously, but for purposes of showing you in the video, I left them face up. So I'll flip over my opponents, and then we'll go through theirs here in a moment. So we just go along. So 6, I put 3, and then 6, I put nothing. So let's take my 3, and we put them up here. 4, I put 2. My opponent ended up putting all 5 onto the number 5. So that is the cast of the crystals. So we're on to the next phase, which is going to be use the portal. So what the portal is we're going to take a look here, and this is the portal spot. The portal is kind of a wild card. So if you have anything on there, you can take and move it to any location you want. So looking at this, I can go and I can move those 3 crystals somewhere. And I have to move them all. You can't leave any onto the portal square. And so taking a look at the board here, I got to see how I can maximize what I can do the most. And now I can't split it up either. I have to take them all and put them into one spot. So what makes the most sense is I could possibly win this card here, or I can try and get this here. What we'll do is we'll take our 3 and we're going to put them here on this card. Okay? So that's the using of the portal. And you can take these cards here and you're going to put them back in your hand. You get to use all 6 cards every turn. Well, not really use them, but they're available to you every turn. So we use the portal. So we're going to go to the next one, which is activate powers. That's where this comes in. So we're going to take a look at our reds. So my 2 red cards is add 1 crystal to any location if your opponent has more victory points. Well, I have 3 and they have 2, so that's not applicable. You'll notice that a lot of the red ones are almost like a catch-up kind of card. Probably, I would say about half. I haven't looked actually to figure out if that's a true half, but a lot of them are if your opponent has more VP, so it's kind of something to help you catch up. So my magic gems isn't helpful. So we're going to look at the crystal ball. Roll a die, add 1 crystal to that die location. Cool. So we'll take the die, we'll roll it. Hey, it's a 3. So we'll pull a crystal out of our supply. And we get to plop it down like that for free. Nice. Now our opponent, we're going to take a look at what they got. So they get to add a crystal to location 1 and or 6 if they have fewer crystals there. Well, 6 isn't going to help them. So, since it says add a crystal to location 1 or 6 if you have fewer crystals. So they don't have any on either. So we're going to take 1 and we're going to take our choice of putting it on 1 or 6. What we're going to do is we're going to place it on 6. So what happens if you place it after the use portal? It waits until the next round and then it'll move. So their other one is also the same, but 2 or 5. So they already have 5 pretty well locked, and they couldn't place it there because they have. So they'll place it on 3. We go into the next phase here, which is evaluate locations. So we take a look at all the locations here, and we start at 1 and work our way up. 1 needs 2 crystals to claim, 1 more than the next person. There's nothing on it. Nobody's claiming it. 2 needs 3, 1 more, not enough. 3, same deal. 4, you need 4 crystals, 2 more than the next person. There's 5 there, so we take all the crystals that are on it, put them back in the supply, and we claim it over here. It is a green one, so it automatically goes off, and we do the bottom. So it says score as many VP and take as many crystals as characters you have. So green are, some of them are like characters, and you'll see the name and who they are. So this is our first one, so we're going to get 1 victory point, and we get a crystal. 5, the opponent's going to claim, so these go back in the supply. They're going to get 2 victory points, so we move them to there. That says roll a die, remove an opponent's crystal from that die location. So they're going to roll 4. Nothing there, so nothing comes off. And then that goes into theirs. 6, we don't have to worry about. So then it goes into the cleanup phase, which is actually fairly simple. So we take the portal, it slides all the way down. Then we take 2 new cards, and we fill it up. And then the game is going to continue like that until someone gets to 13 points. A couple of other points to mention is whenever the portal gets down to 1, it never goes to actually 1. It goes off to the side, you fill everything down and fill it up, and then it goes back to 6. So another thing to mention is when you're playing these cards, You only have so many crystals to play. If you're not paying attention, you accidentally play too many, your opponent will look and they will pick which of your cards will stay in play and which one will not. But they can't cherry pick it. They have to pick whichever way you would be able to use the most crystals. So there's an alternate mode that you can play to. Instead of 13, you can play up to 16 points also. You have 30 crystals in your supply. There's very unlikely that you would actually run out of crystals. But in the event that you do run out of crystals, you actually take crystals off of any cards out here that have the most until you can get up to 5 again, so you can draw during your draw crystal phase. Also, once we go back to round 1, it always checks the victory points. Whoever has the most victory points then takes control of the little wizard. If it is tied, it stays the same on where it is. And last thing to note too is at any point, if a card has 12 or more crystals and no player meets the requirement, all the crystals on that card go back to the owner, and that card actually gets discarded. So a new card would come out. So those are just a couple finer points of the game itself here that we didn't cover in the generic one-round playthrough. But I'm going to bring you up from the table here and give you my final thoughts on this game. So final thoughts here on School of Sorcery. So it's a real simple 2-player game. It doesn't take a lot to actually learn the game. It's fairly simple and very straightforward to go. For how simple the game is, there's a lot of layers of strategy into it. A lot of randomness with the die, but you can mitigate that with a couple different things that are going on. And there's a lot of thinking, well, how am I going to attack these cards and try and get them, or plan to do that in future rounds. So I really like that for, like, as I said, it's a very simplistic game that has a good layer of complexity on top of it. I think for a 2-player game, if you're looking for something that can fit into 30 minutes, this actually would be a really good choice. It's one of the 2-player games that I think is kind of higher rated by me right now. I think I really enjoy this one. It'd be something I would want to play quite a few more times to see if it cemented a real high spot in that 2-player game category for myself. But that's the review here for School of Sorcery. And if you want us to do any other reviews, definitely throw some suggestions down into the comment section. Definitely hit that subscribe button, the like button here. Every single one of those helps us out tremendously. Until later, this is Evan with Tabletop Gaming Guild. Have a good night.